In their community, family is everything. It's the ground they stand on, the air they breathe. It's the legacy they build and the honor they protect with a fierceness that outsiders can never truly understand. His father, Baba, was the architect of their world. He was the sun they all revolved around. But when Bayo found out what his own father, his hero, was doing to his daughter, Amara, he was faced with an impossible choice: protect the honor of the family that gave him everything, or protect the daughter who is his everything. He knew that whatever he chose, their world would be shattered, and he was the one who had to bring down the hammer. Their story doesn't start in darkness. It starts in light, a light so bright it was blinding. Bayo's father, Adebola, the man they all called Baba, was a titan. He'd come to this country with nothing but dust in his pockets and a fire in his heart. He built an empire from the counter of a small restaurant, a place that grew to become the heart of their community. Baba's chop house wasn't just a place for food. It was a sanctuary, a meeting hall, a bank, and a court. And his father was its king. He had this incredible presence, with a booming laugh that filled the whole restaurant and hands that seemed like they could both build a home and steady a trembling world. Bayo worshipped him. They all did. He hadn't just given Bayo a life. He'd given him a legacy, a name that meant something. When Baba walked into a room, people stood. When he spoke, people listened. His word was bond, and his honor was the family's honor. His wife, Folami, and he lived in the house attached to the restaurant, a world within a world. And the center of their universe was their daughter, Amara. She was 14 with her mother's bright, intelligent eyes and his stubborn chin. She had the laughter of wind chimes and a spirit that felt too big for their small, tight-knit community. She was the promise of the new world her grandfather had fought so hard for. Bayo remembers their family dinners. They were huge, even on a Tuesday. The long table would be loaded with dishes Folami had spent hours on. Baba would sit at the head, a proud patriarch looking over his kingdom. He'd tell stories of the old country, tales of hardship that made them feel like part of some great epic. And he always doted on Amara, his first and only grandchild. "Here, my little jewel," he'd say, slipping a crisp bill into her hand, "for being top of your class again. You make the family name shine." Amara would just beam, her face lit up with pride. She adored him. She'd run to him with her report cards, her soccer trophies, with every little victory, and he would lift her up, literally and figuratively. He was the keeper of their history and, they thought, the guardian of her future. Folami would watch them and whisper to him, "Look at them." He sees the future in her eyes. He saw it too. He saw the unbroken line of their family stretching on, strong and secure. His father's strength, his daughter's brilliance. It was a perfect picture, a perfect, beautiful lie. He thinks back to those moments all the time, searching for a sign, a flicker in his eye, a tremor in his hand. But there was nothing. Just the blinding light of a good man, a great man. The darkness was there, of course. It was just buried so deep that to find it, you'd have to be willing to tear your whole world apart. The shift was so subtle at first, you could have mistaken it for the weather changing. It started on a Saturday afternoon. The restaurant was quiet, caught in that lull between lunch and dinner. Bayo was in the kitchen, wrestling with a broken freezer, the air thick with the smell of grease and cold metal. Folami was at the market. Amara, always happy to help, was organizing Baba's office. His office was a sacred space upstairs, filled with the smell of old paper, leather, and cardamom tea. It was their family's history, holding decades of receipts and photos. He'd asked Amara to sort a box of old invoices. "You have young eyes, my jewel," he'd said, his voice a low rumble. "Help your old grandfather." Bayo remembers seeing her go up the stairs, her ponytail bouncing. She smiled at him as she passed the kitchen. It was the last time he'd see that particular smile, the one that was so easy, so pure. His head was on the cost of a new compressor. He heard the office door click shut upstairs, a sound he'd heard 1,000 times. It meant nothing, just a door closing. But now, in his memory, that click echoes like a gunshot. It was the sound of a vault being sealed, the sound of a trap. He didn't hear a scream. He didn't hear a struggle. The house was quiet. From the kitchen window, he saw a flock of pigeons suddenly explode from the roof, a frantic burst of grey against a calm blue sky. He remembers thinking that was odd. Then nothing. Later, when it was time to set up for dinner, Amara came downstairs. Her face was pale, her movements were stiff, almost robotic. She wouldn't look at him. She wouldn't look at anyone. Her light was just gone, as if someone had reached inside her and flipped a switch. At dinner, she barely touched her food. Baba, her adoring grandfather, reached out to playfully ruffle her hair. "What's this?" "The cat has my jewel's tongue?" Bayo saw it then. A flinch. It was tiny, almost invisible. A violent, inward shudder that she tried to hide by grabbing her water glass. Her hand was trembling. Baba's hand stayed on her shoulder a second too long. "She's just tired, Baba," Folami said, always the peacemaker. "Long week at school." He accepted it. They all did. Why wouldn't they? It was easier. It made sense. Teenagers are moody. Daughters grow distant. It's a phase. They told themselves these things because the alternative was unthinkable. The alternative was that the monster you tell your kids about, the one who lives in the dark, was sitting at the head of their table, asking someone to pass the salt. When she went to bed that night, he heard her lock her bedroom door. She'd never done that before. It was another click, louder this time, the sound of a prison cell being locked from the inside. The weeks that followed were a slow, agonizing slide. The vibrant, laughing girl he knew was gone, replaced by a ghost haunting their home. Amara moved through her days, wrapped in a silence that was louder than any scream. Her grades, once a source of pride, cratered. Her teachers sent notes home. She was withdrawn, just staring out the window 1,000,000 miles away. She quit the soccer team, said she'd lost interest. She started avoiding family dinner. She'd claim she had too much homework or wasn't hungry. On the nights she couldn't get out of it, she'd sit with her shoulders hunched, eyes glued to her plate, as if she could will herself to become invisible. Anytime Baba tried to talk to her, he was met with a one-word answer or a flinch she couldn't hide anymore. The tension in their house was so thick you could feel it. Bayo and Folami started to argue in hushed, frantic whispers. "Something is wrong, Bayo," she'd plead. "This isn't just a teenage mood. She looks haunted. We should take her to a doctor." "And say what?" He'd snap back, his own fear making him defensive. "That our daughter is sad? They'll think we're bad parents. She's just being difficult. She'll snap out of it." He was a fool, a coward. He was so desperate to keep the perfect picture of their family that he was willing to paint over the cracks, even as they were splitting wide open right in front of him. The only person who seemed to get through to Amara at all was her best friend, Chidinma. They'd been inseparable since they were toddlers. Chidinma was sharp and fiercely loyal. She saw what they, her parents, refused to. She saw how Amara's eyes would dart nervously whenever her grandfather entered a room. She saw how Amara started wearing long sleeves, even on warm days. She saw the light in her friend's eyes had gone out. Chidinma didn't push, not at first. She was just there. She'd sit with Amara in her room, sometimes in total silence. She'd bring her favorite snacks that went uneaten. She'd talk about anything and everything, just to fill the terrifying quiet. One afternoon, Chidinma found Amara crying silently in the school library, hidden between shelves of books. "Amara," Chidinma whispered, her voice gentle but firm. "Please talk to me. I know something is wrong. Whatever it is, you don't have to carry it alone. I'm here. I'm your sister." Amara just shook her head, tears streaming down her face. Chidinma reached out and took her friend's hand. "Did someone hurt you?" Amara froze. The word just hung there in the air, heavy and dangerous. For a long moment, there was nothing. Then, in a voice so small it was almost a whisper, a voice that was fractured and broken, she said one word. "Yes." Chidinma's face hardened. "Who?" Amara choked on a sob, her whole body shaking. She couldn't say the name. She didn't have to. She just whispered two words that made Chidinma's blood run cold. "My grandfather." Chidinma carried that secret for 2 days. 2 days where the weight of it pressed down on her. A burden no kid should ever have to bear. She knew the rules of their community. You don't speak ill of elders. You don't bring shame on a family. To accuse a man like Baba wasn't just an accusation, it was an earthquake. Finally, she went to her own mother, who listened with a grim face. Her mother's advice was simple and terrifying. This isn't for a child to carry. The only person who can stand against a father is his son. Bayo has to be told. The next evening, Chidinma showed up at the back door of the restaurant. Bayo was closing up, counting the day's receipts. His mind was on numbers, profit and loss. "Uncle Bayo." Her voice was trembling, but her eyes were steady. She looked like a soldier marching into a battle she knew she might not survive. "Chidinma, it's late." "Everything all right?" he asked, tired. "No," she said, stepping inside. "Nothing is all right. I need to talk to you. And you have to promise me you'll listen. And you must promise you won't get angry at Amara. You have to believe her." A cold dread started creeping up his spine. He nodded slowly. "I promise." And then she told him. She told him the story Amara had whispered in the library, the words tumbling out, each one a hammer blow against the foundation of his world. His first reaction was pure rage. But it wasn't aimed at his father. It was aimed at her. "No," he said, his voice low and dangerous. "You're lying. How dare you? My father, he loves her." He took a step toward her, his hands clenching. "Amara's confused. You're putting poison in her head." Chidinma stood her ground, tears in her eyes, but her voice didn't waver. "I'm not lying." And she's not confused. She's terrified. Go ask her, uncle. Go look in your daughter's eyes and ask her if I'm lying. Her words cut right through his anger, leaving him cold and shaking. He left her in the dark restaurant and went into the house. Amara was in her room. He knocked softly. "Amara? It's me. Can I come in?" He heard the click of the lock. He stepped inside. She was at her desk, staring at a blank page. She didn't turn around. He knelt beside her, his heart pounding. He tried to keep his voice gentle, trying to honor the promise he made to Chidinma. "Amara, he started, his voice cracking. Chidinma, she talked to me. He saw her shoulders tense up. She still wouldn't look at him. She said, something happened with Baba. A choked sob escaped her lips. Amara, sweetheart, look at me. He gently touched her arm and she flinched away like she'd been burned. That one small movement told him more than words ever could. He pulled his hand back, ashamed. Amara, he whispered, his world crumbling. Is it true, what Chidinma said about grandfather? She turned her head slowly, and for the first time in weeks, she looked right at him. Her eyes weren't his daughter's eyes anymore. They were ancient, filled with a pain so deep it stole his breath. There were no tears left, just a hollow, empty abyss. And then she gave a single, devastating nod. In that moment, the man he knew as his father died. The world he built turned to ash. The light he cast was just the blinding glare of a fire, and it was consuming his daughter from the inside out. His only thought was, I have to put it out, no matter what it cost. Bio didn't sleep that night. He just sat in the dark dining room, with the ghosts of 1,000 happy family meals mocking him from the empty chairs. His father, the man who taught him how to be a man. His daughter, the girl who taught him how to love. How could one be a monster and the other his victim? His mind was a battlefield. To accuse his father would be to declare war on his own family, his community, his entire identity. The ultimate betrayal. But to stay silent. That would be sacrificing his daughter's soul on the altar of family honor. A betrayal so deep it would poison his own blood. When the sun came up, he saw him outside, inspecting his rose bushes. He moved with the same authority, the same grace. But Bayo saw him differently now. The kindness in his eyes looked like cunning. The strength in his hands looked like a threat. He felt sick. He had to tell Folami. He found her in the kitchen, kneading dough. He closed the door and the words just spilled out of him, a mess of pain and rage. Her hands froze. The colour drained from her face. Her first reaction was pure maternal fury. We go to the police, she said, her voice a low, chilling whisper. Now. I want him out of this house. I want him in a cage. Folami, it's not that simple, he pleaded. He is this family. He is this community. His name is on this house, the restaurant. He holds the loans for half the businesses on this street. If I accuse him, I don't just take him down. I take us down. Everyone. They won't believe it. They'll say Amara is a liar, corrupted by this country. They'll say we're greedy, trying to steal the business. They will shun us. They will turn on Amara and make her life a living hell. We'll be nothing, and she'll be a pariah. Folami stared at him, the horror of it all settling in. So what? She whispered. We do nothing? We let him smile and walk around while our daughter withers away. No, he said, the word like a stone in his mouth. No, we won't do nothing, but we can't fight this war on their terms. I have to find another way. He was trapped, caught between the law of the land, which demanded public justice, and the law of his tribe, which demanded public silence. Both paths led to ruin. Both would destroy his daughter in different ways. He realized he couldn't save both his family's honor and his daughter's soul. He had to choose. And in that moment, he knew what he had to do. It wouldn't be clean. It wouldn't be righteous. It would be a private act of war. He wouldn't save his family. He would hollow it out from the inside, leaving the beautiful shell for the world to see, while everything inside turned to rot. That night, Bayo told his father he needed to discuss business. He asked him to meet him in the restaurant after they closed. After everyone was gone, Folami took Amara to Chidinma's house. He needed the stage to be empty. The air in the restaurant was heavy, still. The only light was a single dim bulb over the register. His father walked in, looking regal as always. He smiled, that calm, paternal smile that now made Bayo's stomach turn. "Bayo, my boy, what's so urgent?" he asked, putting a hand on Bayo's shoulder. Bayo shrugged it off. It was the first time in his life he'd ever rejected his father's touch. The smile on his face faltered. He saw something in Bayo's eyes he'd never seen before. "Father," Bayo started, his voice hoarse, "I need to ask you about Amara." He was a master of control. His expression barely flickered, but a hardness came into his eyes. "Amara? Is she unwell?" "She's broken," Bayo said, his voice getting a little stronger. "And I know why." He let out a long, theatrical sigh. "Ah," he said, "the friend. Chidinma. I've heard the whispers, a child with a wild imagination. This is what happens in this country, Bayo. The children forget respect. They forget truth." "This isn't about Chidinma," Bayo said, his voice dropping to a whisper. "It's about you. I talked to Amara. I asked her. She told me." He stared at Bayo, his face an unreadable mask. Then he did something that sealed his fate. He laughed, not his usual booming laugh. It was a short, contemptuous chuckle. "And you believed her?" he asked, as if he couldn't believe Bayo's stupidity. "A hysterical girl over your own father. The man who built this world for you. Have you lost your mind?" He stepped closer, his voice turning sharp. "Think very carefully about what you're doing, Bayo. You are playing with fire. You will bring a shame upon this house that will never wash away. Your daughter, the one you claim to protect, she will be marked. Damaged goods. Our name will be mud. Is that what you want? To destroy everything for a child's fantasy?" Bayo looked at him. He looked into the eyes of the man who had been his god, and he saw nothing. No remorse, no fear, only arrogance. The last bit of love and respect he had for him died in that moment. He was finally free. "No," he said, his voice suddenly calm, clear. "That's not what I want. I'm not going to destroy our name." A flicker of relief crossed his father's face. He thought he'd won. "I'm going to save it," Bayo continued. "And I'm going to save my daughter. But you're finished." His father just stared at him, confused. He was expecting a fight, an argument. He wasn't expecting a verdict. "You will not go near my daughter again," Bayo said, his voice flat. "You will not speak to her. You will not even look at her. To her and to me and to Folami, you are a ghost. But to the world," he said, taking a step toward him, "to the world, you will remain Baba, the patriarch, the pillar of the community." He looked at Bayo like he was speaking another language. "What are you talking about?" "Here's what's going to happen," Bayo said, laying out the terms. "Tomorrow, you'll go to the lawyer and sign over majority ownership of the business, this building, everything, to me. You'll cite your health, your age. You'll tell everyone it's time for the son to take over. You will move out of this house and into the small apartment we own above the old bakery. It's quiet there. You'll have time to think." He let that sink in. "You'll still come to family dinners on holidays. You'll go to the mosque on Fridays. You will smile and accept the respect of the community. You will play the part of the beloved elder, and I will play the part of the dutiful son. You will live out your days as a hero to the world, but in your own heart, in the middle of the night, you will know you are a prisoner, surrounded by a family that despises you, living in a gilded cage you built yourself. His face, once so arrogant, was now pale with shock. He opened his mouth to protest, but Bayo cut him off. "And if you ever," he said, his voice dropping to a lethal whisper, "if you ever break these rules, if you so much as look at my daughter for a second too long, then I will burn it all to the ground. I will go to the police. I will go to the imam. I will stand in the middle of the street and scream what you are to everyone who has ever respected you. I will destroy the family name you love so much, and I will take you down with it. I will happily become a pariah to see you brought to justice. The choice is yours, a quiet prison or a very loud, very public hell." He looked at Bayo, truly seeing him for the first time, not as his son, but as his enemy. He saw that Bayo wasn't bluffing. He saw that the part of him that loved his father was dead, and what was left was something he couldn't control. He was a man who understood power, and he knew in that instant that all of it had just shifted. He looked around the empty restaurant, at the walls that held his entire life's work. He looked at Bayo, his son, his jailer, and in a voice that was barely a rasp, he said one word: "Agreed." And so, they live in the aftermath. To the outside world, nothing changed. The restaurant is thriving under Bayo's management. The old patriarch, Baba, enjoys his retirement, a living legend. Their family still gathers for holidays, a perfect picture of tradition. But it's a portrait with a crack running right through it. There's a chasm of silence between Bayo and his father, wider than any ocean. Folami looks at him with a coldness that could freeze fire. He is a ghost at their table, smiling a hollow smile, his eyes completely empty. Amara is healing. Slowly. With therapy, with Chidinma's friendship, and with the silent, fierce protection of her parents, the light is starting to come back into her eyes. She's starting to laugh again, a sound he was afraid he'd never hear. She knows what her father did. She knows the silent war he is fighting for her. She looks at him with an understanding no child should ever have, a mix of gratitude and sorrow for the family he had to break to keep her whole. Bayo made a choice, not for honor and not for justice as the world sees it. He did it for her, for Amara. In their world, sometimes the only way to save your family is to shatter it from within. He traded a patriarch for his daughter's peace. Some might say he was a coward for not exposing him. Others might say he was a fool for not cutting him out of their lives completely. But they aren't the ones who had to look into their daughter's haunted eyes. They aren't the ones who had to choose which part of their own heart to cut out. He chose his daughter, and he would choose her again, 1,000 times over. He was forced to choose between public justice and private protection. He built a prison of shame around the man who hurt his daughter, all while keeping the family's honor intact in the eyes of the world. But was it the right choice? What would you have done in his shoes? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. If this story moved you, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more stories that make you think. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss an update.